been burned, I've been broken, still I rise, yeah, the story's been spoken. Every scar just shows what I came through. I'm stronger now, and I shine brand new. The climb was steep, but I held on tight. I found my light, shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving.
This is exactly what friendship is, y'all.
And we understand.
Welcome back to The Rise, From Ashes to Altitude, a living, breathing book tour based on my award-winning book, Shots Fired, A Heroine's Memoir. I'm your host, Tracy Lance, and through intimate conversations, behind-the-scenes storytelling, and powerful guest voices, we explore what it really means to rise from trauma, reclaim resilience, and turn wounds into wisdom. Each episode is a tour stop into a different part of the journey that takes us somewhere new, geographically, emotionally, and spiritually, from fire and bullets to forgiveness and elevation. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability is honored, healing is possible, and every listener is reminded your story carries strength, your voice carries truth, and your scars are no longer wounds. They're beauty marks of survival that make you bulletproof. Today, we are nestled inside a hidden sanctuary in the heart of Los Angeles at the Japanese Tea Garden. Surrounded by flowing streams, stone bridges, and the gentle rhythm of nature, this space was built for reflection, for stillness, and for creating something meaningful. Here, among the koi ponds and whispering bamboo, we are having a conversation about new beginnings, about reinvention, and about the courage it takes to finally tell your story. And I couldn't imagine a more perfect place to talk about writing, healing, and becoming an author. Today's guest is a woman who understands transformation both personally and professionally. Founder of Destined to Publish, Marilyn Alexander. Marilyn has been dedicated to her work to helping others give voice to their experiences through writing, and there's no better person to explore the power of storytelling and book writing than her. Marilyn, welcome to this serene setting, taking a break from the cold, snowy conditions outside of my window right now. Thank you so much for joining me on The Rise.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. We're going to talk about how life's turning points become chapters, how blank pages become blueprints, and how someone's story, even the painful parts, become purpose. I'm so honored to have you join me. And like I said, there's no better person to have here on this show than you to talk about the book writing process and, you know, what it takes to put pen to paper and get your story out there. Let's start by hearing your backstory. You've been in the publishing, editing world for many years, and you founded Destined to Publish, the company that I used for my book writing process. And I want to know from you, tell us how you got started and what ignited your passion for helping authors write and publish their books.
Let's do the condensed version. First of all, we've been publishing, next year will be 20 years
Wow.
of helping authors publish their books. And the full circle moment is that in the 90s, telling my age now, I actually worked for a publishing company.
Did you?
Did not know that. Idea that, again, that this would come full circle. But I worked in a publishing company. I worked in fulfillment. And they were 3 medical magazines. And from there, through the rest of my life transition, I went into printing, worked at a print shop. And then in 2006, Apostle John Eckhart asked me to reprint one of his books. And from reprinting one of his books, he asked me to design another cover. And this was before publishing. And in the early 90s, really, the term self-publishing was still out of reach for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So this was really early on. And at this point, I was just designing and printing. So I did the design and printed some of his books. And from there, literally, the door opened.
Wow.
Originally, we were published affordably. So that happened probably in about 2009, where people really now started to see that publishing, self-publishing was attainable. But even then, I had no idea that the company would grow to be what it is now. And I'm just grateful to God that it's here.
Yes, I'm grateful for you as well. So are you saying that people saw your work that you did for the pastor and then they started coming to you saying, oh my God, this is beautiful. I need you to design something for me?
Kind of both, or that plus. So with his books, with his congregation, some of the people saw some of those things, but it's just amazing how I think once you start a journey, once you start a path, it's like there are people that you meet along the way.
Yes.
And those people from wherever they were coming from found where I was. There was no real social media then.
No.
There was none of that.
No.
But a lot of word of mouth. And so one book became 2, became 10. From there, again, just the printing and design portion. Then in 2012, I was at a conference, again with Apostle John, and there was a woman there, and she had, in the conference, I'd been there several years, and it was something where people would come and they would sign up so I could call them. So this was our social media then, because we were doing phone calls,
sheets.
right? Sign-in,
Yes.
real sign-in sheets.
Yes.
And so this was like maybe her 3rd or 4th year signing at my desk. And she told me a story. She says, Marilyn, she says, I have signed up at your table now for here 3 or 4 years. She says, let me tell you, she says, my story, the Lord told me to write it when I was pregnant. She's obviously not pregnant.
Right.
And so she said the Lord had told her to write a story about her pregnancy and the journey that her life took during her pregnancy and the birth of her son. And so she looked at me after that whole introduction, and I'm about to say, okay, so let's get started.
Right.
She says, my son is now 32.
Wow.
So she had held this story for 32 years and not been able to find a place to surrender it or to write it or the knowledge to even to do it. And it was at that point where the Lord told me, okay, I need you to coach.
Nice.
And that is how the coaching portion of publishing kind of grew from there, because people need to understand just how to do it. Mm-hmm. It's not enough for you to say, I publish.
Yeah.
You still have to teach people what that means, how to do it. And then, as you're saying, with your story, just how to be able to understand what that story is.
Yes.
And what the focus of the story should be. Because I have a great story doesn't necessarily mean that you have a story that you need to write. Some stories are for the couch.
Yes, yes. So is that how the name Destined to Publish came about?
So Destined to Publish came, again, we were published affordably. Destined to Publish came in 2015. Pastor Chris from CLC, it was a watch night service. And she said in the watch night service, so it must have been 2014 because 2015 was our first conference. She said in the first service, she says, the Lord has given you something to do that you've been holding back. Not specifically to me.
Right.
She was just opening up and saying this as a prophetic word. And the Lord it was like a tap on my shoulder.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, the conference is what he had been telling me that I needed to do. And from there, I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to do it. And I was searching for a name, and he dropped Destined to Publish.
Yes.
In my spirit. And the conference was Destined to Publish. And so eventually the conference became the name of the company, because now that name had been out there. People knew me by Destined to Publish. And so we took the educational part, which is the Destined to Publish conference, along with the publishing part, and we married those two.
Wow.
And we brought them under one branch of Destined to Publish.
Nice. I learned a lot from you at the women's conference that we attended last May. I think it was mother-daughter or something like that. And I learned that writing can be so much more than just putting words on a page. What is writing to you?
Wow, that's a loaded question first. To me, in order to be able to even start writing, you really need to understand what space you're writing from.
Okay.
Writing can be freedom. I tell my authors all the time, it is the most intimate space where you meet yourself.
Okay.
All of the truths that you've been holding on to, all of the pain, all of the emotions, writing causes you to sit in that space.
Yes.
To be able to face yourself.
Yes.
And so when I say some things are for the couch, really writing is therapeutic. It can be healing. It can be funny. It can be freeing. It's all of those things, especially for women who are just busy, busy, busy.
Yep.
And we don't take those times, we don't take those moments to sit and understand and feel, because we're always moving from one space to another.
Yes.
And so those emotions, until there's a pin that drops and everything falls apart and we realize just how broken we are and how things have just piled up on us and we have not had an opportunity to release those things.
No, exactly.
And so writing gives us that opportunity just to release and to be self-centered.
Yes.
And understand where our emotions are in the moment that we are.
Yes, it is. And to your point, when I started writing, I was forced to sit still. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, oh, I could write a book and I could still carry on with my life and just write when I have time. But writing my book sent me to therapy. It sent me to Mount Kilimanjaro. It sent me into a tailspin of emotions that I didn't know that I had suppressed. It is so powerful and it's so much needed. Even if you don't think that you'll publish the book, just sitting and writing, like you said, you have things that's going on, painful moments, traumas, things that come up in a book. And I think when I joined your team, I heard, and unless you are ready to tell your story, you're not ready to write a book. And then at certain points of my writing process, I didn't think I was ready to write a book. Like you need to go heal. You need to start at that place before you put pen to paper and start writing your story. So that's so true, because many of us, we have those stories inside of us. Memoirs and, especially memoirs. Why is now a powerful time to start writing a book? Like, what gives people the idea? Like, should I start writing now? Should I wait? What would you tell somebody? Is writing your book now a good idea?
So there really is no good time. Like, there really is no good time to write. And there's no bad time to write.
Okay.
I would say to a person, really journaling a lot of things. Journaling, to your point, helps kind of release some of those emotions. But in this season of political things that are going on, there is no better time than to tell your story. There's no better time than to leave a legacy for your children. There's no better time for us to be able to connect with the people around us than now, because we're losing a lot of the things that make us us. And so if we don't tell our stories and they're taking the stories that have already been told away, then we're going to be left with a gap of information where now things can be made up about us.
Wow.
So telling your story, even if it's not to publish to the world, even if it's just something to leave, to your grandchildren or your children's children, those stories right now is the time for you to sit down and to take pen to paper, recipes and, stories you've heard from mama and, all of those things. Even if it's not published, just sit down and write them. Just sit down and put them in a place so that your kids can get to them and they can know who you are. Because there's a depth in there. And we can have a conversation, but the conversations are, I don't want to say shallow, but they're almost surfacey.
Yeah.
But when you get down to writing, really the emotion is what comes
Yes.
out in your writing.
Because that is in regular conversation, regular everyday conversation, that it's just back and forth. It's surface, but the only time we go deep is when we're writing, talking about our feelings and emotions and how I felt when this happened. But I want to ask you, what holds people back from taking that leap and starting that writing journey?
I would say, well, the kids call it, what is it? What is the term? Imposter syndrome is real. We don't think we have enough knowledge. We don't think anybody can read our story. We don't think we're worthy enough to write. We don't think that it is, something that anybody wants to read. But authorship is authority. You have the authority to write the book that is your life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So write the book.
Yes.
And leave the rest up to the world, because if you don't, you'll never understand whether or not it was worth writing.
And I had those same things happen to me. Who is going to care about my story?
Exactly.
Who is going to even read this? So I'm writing this for nothing, because nobody wants to want to hear about my story. So that's exactly right. But I think that it's always worth taking that leap.
Absolutely.
And doing it anyway. So what are your top pointers for even starting the writing journey?
So I think for anyone who wants to write their book, I think the first thing is to understand that everybody has a story, to understand that your story matters, and to just be centered in that you are that authority on writing.
Yes.
From there, taking the time to actually do it, because I feel like there are so many people who say, I have a story. I have a story. I need to write something, right? And I think that time gets away, because writing is one of those things that literally can be fleeting, because everything else will take priority over this priority,
Yes.
right? So setting an appointment with yourself to be able to say, okay, I'm just going to start journaling. And from the journaling, then that journal can become a book. Even as you're doing that, though, understanding that there's going to be some hard things that you're going to face in the writing.
Yes.
There's going to be some painful things. There's going to be some funny things. There's going to be a hodgepodge of emotions that you're going to be able to write, and understanding that you got the ability to be able to face those things.
Yes.
The other thing that I tell people is, don't face a blank page. Don't sit down to a blank sheet of paper or a blank screen. Like, type something on there. Put some color to the page. Put some words on the page. Write something, because the blank page will win. It will be intimidating.
Yes.
So just journal something, even if it's doodling. Get your pen in your hand in the practice of moving. Get your fingers in the practice of typing. And it doesn't have to start with everything. It doesn't have to start with anything. It just has to start.
Yes.
So start with what you did today.
Yes.
Don't try to go back to 1972.
Yes.
No, just start where you were today.
So is this as it relates to writing a memoir, or is this just, what if I just want to write something else?
So I think this is whether you want to write fiction, nonfiction, children's, just it sounds so cliche to say just start, but really it is to just start. But even when people are thinking that they want to write, if your goal is to seriously write, then your first step is to get a coach.
Okay.
Because that coach is now going to help you structure what you need. If your goal is just to get into the habit of writing and to just get yourself in the flow of writing, then journal. Start with an appointment with yourself. Make it a priority. But if your goal is to seriously write a book, every author needs a coach. Coaches need coaches.
Yes.
It is the best way for you to understand the structure because you will have that person to kind of go back and forth with, to be your accountability partner,
Yes.
to understand your story, and to tell you when you're veering off to the left,
Yes.
keep you on point.
Yes.
So all of those things are good if your goal is to publish a book.
Okay, what about those who want to write scripts or for movie or TV, or does that still apply?
It still applies. The thing is that I don't think this is Marilyn. This is not, I think every script starts with a great story. So don't go in with the mindset of I'm writing a movie.
Yes.
Go with the mindset of I'm going to write a great story.
That's good.
Because a great story will turn into a
Yes,
movie.
that's
but
good.
if you've got that looming idea of this is going to be a book, that can cause writer's block because now you put some pressure on yourself to be able to do something when just writing just a good story is really what's going to get you to that point.
Yes, that's good. That's good because that's exactly what I was going through, and definitely bringing in a coach or a writing team like your company. That was really, really helpful because I had two pretty amazing writing coaches.
Yeah.
Deborah and then Kara
Kara.
was my two writing coaches, and they helped guide me along the way. And when I tell you how many times I was stumped and didn't know which way to go, what to write about, what to do. I mean, you start back from scratch. Start the outline. Go back to the outline. Things will change. Don't look for perfection. Don't expect everything to even make sense on the page. I think they use the term vomit on the page.
Yeah.
Just start writing and keep going. Every single day, take 2 hours and write. And then we came back together every week. Mm-hmm. And we had a whole accountability session. Okay, what have you written? And then if you say, I haven't even had a chance to write anything, then it would be a 101. What do you mean? What's going on? What's happening in your life where you're not continuing to write?
Yeah.
Because writer's block, I want to believe that there's no such thing as writer's block. It's just distractions that we allow to get in the way. Because once you sit and you're quiet and you can think clearly, which is why our setting is at this whole, serene place, because those are the places you have to just find the right setting, the right environment, and things will start flowing. Just like when we're talking and speaking, same thing with writing, things that it pops up into your head, and one thought leads to another thought and reminds you of that, and that happened, and then before you know it, you have 3 pages written.
And I think that that's part, even though, so understanding exactly what you're saying, that there is a flow to writing, that this is going to lead to there. I think the overwhelming thing, and when I say writer's block, I mean something that's stopping you from thinking.
Yes,
So
that's exactly right. Yes.
So the whole premise of you, or even overthinking
Yes.
something, if you sit down and you've got so much that you want to write about that now you've overthought everything, and now
Yes.
nothing comes out.
Yes.
So that's sort of the form of writer's block. So even when we tell the people, and I think we told you, get a coloring book. Like, go grab a coloring book. We tell you exactly as they say, just put it on the page, get it out of your head. Don't edit, don't go back.
Yes.
Just write and
Yes.
get it on the page. And if you get stuck, stop. Take
Yes.
a break, move away from it, and then come back. But you can't take a long break, because that will even cause you to stop writing. That will cause a form of writer's block, because now you got to reconnect with your content.
That's right. That's exactly right. Everything you're saying is taking me back to my writing journey. And it's all so true. Have you written a book?
I've written a book, and I think that's the reason why I'm so passionate about it, because my book has been published, but it is not published to the masses. The book that I wrote is called My Pen and Me, and it's a book of poetry and writings that I have as a true writer or as a writer from a childhood.
Yes.
Things that I collected, but that is also the reason why I'm so passionate about other people
Yes.
getting their books out to the world, because somebody needs to read what it is that you've written. There is an audience for every
Yes.
book.
There is an audience for every book. So you answered how, when people don't know where to start. You mentioned coloring book. At the conference we were at, you had everybody do these exercises. And one, we colored, we took the coloring book, the crayons, and it's supposed to stir up creativity and allow you to move away. Even during the writing process, you should take a coloring book and color. If you feel like you are having some blockages going on, take a coloring book, step away, and start writing. And first of all, it's relaxing. And that in itself is therapeutic. What are some other exercises that people can do to help keep stirring that creativity to continue to write?
So I think a part of writing is just catching yourself at the moment, right? So I tell my authors to always have pen and paper next to you, or pick up your phone and just talk, because sometimes I know for me, my brain and my fingers, my brain goes way faster than my fingers can type, and especially faster than my hand can write. So I tell people to pick up your recorder and just start talking.
Okay.
That's one of the things. If you have a playlist and you can just, listen to some music, get a writing space. Don't write where you work. Find a good space that is dedicated to writing, because if you're writing where you're working, guess what your mind is going to be thinking about?
On work. Yes.
So move away from the work and start writing, and create an atmosphere so that when I sit here, this is my writing chair. Much like a prayer closet. When I come in here, this is my time to pray. So when I sit here and when I have my favorite mug or my favorite pen and the music, or light a candle, creating an ambiance, creating an atmosphere that's conducive to writing helps you to kind of focus on what it is that you have to do.
Yes. So once we get that part taken care of and you got their whole writing journey started, how should you structure the next parts?
So writing a book is a journey. Your first step has to be, if your goal is to publish, your first step has to be to give yourself a roadmap.
Okay.
Some people just sit down and say, I'm going to write a book. That will never work. You will write yourself down a rabbit hole and not know how to come out of it.
Okay.
So you have to give yourself a roadmap. So I think we have all been tortured by outlines in school.
Yes.
In school, we have all been tortured by outlines in school, but outlines give you a roadmap. It tells you what streets to go down. It tells you where to turn left, where to turn right. It even tells you, like, if we're in Chicago, you're going to California, it tells you where to change states. So chapters.
Yes.
It tells you which chapters so an outline is imperative to a good book. And outlines are not structured. They are fluid. So if you find that your journey is going left and it needs to take that left turn, then you go back to your outline and you structure your outline to take the journey that you're taking.
Wow.
But don't start without an outline. You need a roadmap that's going to get you from your starting place to your ending point.
So then you need an outline to turn those blank pages into a book. So let's talk about the real personal part of writing. Mm-hmm. It was very hard for me to write about some of the very deeply, deeply personal things that I shared in my book. Things that I said I would take to my grave. Things that I was ashamed of people even knowing about me. How might somebody leverage their life turnarounds as structural anchors in their book?
Whew, that's a lot. Okay, so first let's say not everything has to be published. Just because you're writing it does not necessarily mean that it needs to go into the published or the finished book. I think some people get to those parts in their writing journey and it causes them to shut down. because they feel like they have to go through this portion in order to get to the next part. I teach people to write in tandem, where you've got your main document and you've got your tandem document.
Okay.
So anything that you feel is overwhelming, don't write it over here yet. Put it in your tandem document. Get the feelings, get the emotions out, so that now you're able to move to the next point. The other thing, though, with regards to that, is there are some things that if you're not healed from them, don't write them.
Right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Because you don't want to bleed on someone else.
Yes.
The goal of it is, if you can't write from a place of victory, then that portion of your story should not be told.
Yes.
And
yes.
if there is no victory there, then you can still write your story, but there's a way that you have to now navigate around that.
Yes.
In order for you now to continue without, because that trauma, you trauma dumping and allowing that portion of your story to be in a book and someone else reading it, it will force them in their own trauma. It will trigger them.
Yes,
and instead of giving them
right.
a victory,
yes,
it will put them back to the trauma that they've actually trying to escape from.
That's right. I had that happen to me. I wanted to write about things and people who had hurt me, and you could tell where I was still bitter and angry and hurt, and that's reflected on the pages.
Yeah.
And when Marcy had to read the script, and when Lance had to read it, Marcy is the main one who said, sit and think about this, because this is going to be in your book forever. And do you want people to read this about themselves that you wrote about them and be affected by that? You need to sit and have a come to Jesus meeting and realize whether or not you want this to be written and printed in your book.
The funny part about that is, most of the time when people think that they have to name somebody,
yes.
You're not healed at that point.
Exactly.
So if you can't tell me the victory without having to point to
yes.
the person, then that's not something that you need to actually write
yes.
about.
And that's exactly what Lance said. As an attorney, you can't put people's real names, depending on what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Like you said, if it's not a victorious story, you don't want to name people. In my stubbornness, well, if people wanted me to write favorably about them, then they should have behaved better, and I'm leaving it and I'm naming them and I don't care. And then he's like, well, you could probably prove that the story that you're writing about them is true, but who wants to be in litigation forever trying to fight when you could avoid that from the very beginning?
Well, the funny part is, everybody thinks slander is real.
Yes.
Let's say that. But slander, people think different things about slander. We think slander is always the bad thing, right? Sometimes slander is a good thing, because just because you thought it was good, it might not necessarily, and you're talking about me, it might not necessarily could have been good for me or about
yes.
me. So my definition of my life has to be different. So in all cases, if you can tell me the point without telling me the person, that's the direction to go to.
Yes. So if you've been listening to the show, you know how much I talk about people, or I tell my guests or any listeners, you need to write your story. You need to write a book. And I talk about the importance of writing and sharing your story, because your story matters, like you said earlier. And you can't wait for perfect circumstances to start writing a book. Write your truth, tell your story. Don't ever let somebody take the pen out of your hand and write your story for you. So how do you engage people, or what's a good point for people to engage with Destined to publish when they're ready to write a book? Do they have to do all of these things we talked about earlier and then say, I'm ready? Okay, what's Marilyn's contact information?
No, it's a come to Jesus moment, right? You come as you are. So
okay,
literally, you do not have to have anything on paper. We don't need you to have an outline. We don't need you to do anything but have an idea of what your story is going to be about.
Okay.
And we can tell you if or how to structure it. So we just want people to come, have a willing spirit to say, okay, this is the time, and have a plate that's empty enough to be able to hold their book.
Yes.
So you can't have 50 other things that you're doing in the moment that you're writing your book, because those 50 other things are going to take precedence. That's going to be your priority.
Yes.
Writing a book is not, and I am very, very upfront about this. This will be the most challenging thing that you have ever done in your life, but it will also be one of the most rewarding.
Yes.
So if you are ready to do it and you have time that you can set aside and you have a village of people that are around you, like you have Lance and you had Marcy, you need to have a village. I tell people all the time, it takes a village to write a book.
Yes.
It is not something that you can write by yourself.
Yes.
I need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yes,
but
you should.
You need
Yes, you should.
You need to be able to have people in your corner so that when you are doubting yourself, or when you are overwhelmed, or when you just don't feel like writing, they're going to be the people to say, okay, this is the time that you said you're going to write. We need you to go ahead and write. So, and be there to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. So if you've got your village and you've got the time to be able to do it, then I say everybody needs to do it. But you don't need to come all together. We don't need you to put everything together. We're going to help you through that portion of it.
Okay.
But the part that you do have to have are those pieces to the puzzle that we can't do, which is that self-support, and the time factor is what is really, I think that is the hardest part that people don't understand,
Yes.
that it's going to take time.
Yes. And when you start the writing journey, the time you take to write your book, you're going to not be able to dedicate time to going out and your regular lifestyle that you
Yes.
used to. I lost friendships during the process of writing my book. I had people get so mad at me because I would just be lost in the writing process. And before you knew it, you looked up and 2 years had passed and my book was done. And then you look back like, okay, now where is everybody? So that's a good point. You got to have time, but you have to know that you have to take time away from the normal
Yes.
things that you're used to doing, because you won't have time for those things. And if writing a book is a priority, then you got to put that precursor out there, put a disclaimer. Hey, y'all, I'm about to start writing a book. I won't be able to dedicate too much time to social activities and things like that. So what do you say to that?
So first, I will say that you are absolutely right. You have to be able to take the time. You have to be able to tell your friends and your loved ones that this is going to be my time. And you take time to do everything else, right? We take the time to do a lot of things in our lives, but because it's something that's a personal journey, we feel like we don't need, it doesn't need as much attention. But let me also say that there will be people who won't understand what you're doing. There will be people who are, maybe they're not quote unquote jealous of what you're doing, but they're not going to be supportive.
Yes.
And writing a book will let you know the people who are actually in your corner. And there will be the naysayers and there will be the supporters.
Yes.
And you have to understand that this journey is going to show you both.
Yes. Because I had people say, girl, that didn't happen to you. Why are you writing about that? Or you shouldn't write that part in your book. And it's like, you write your own book and tell your own story. So what do you say to people who have the naysayers and the people who are doubting your story or saying that didn't really happen? What do you say to those people?
I say some things need to be kept close to the chest.
Yes.
Right?
I like that.
So there are things that you don't share with everybody because there are dream snatchers.
Yeah.
And those
Yes.
are the people who are there. So a lot of times we will just make a blank, oh, I'm writing a book. Well, the jealous people are always going to tear you down, right?
Yes.
Or people who don't understand. Maybe they're not jealous, but the people who don't understand. But there are some things, even the Bible talks about Mary who kept some things and she pondered them in her heart.
Yes.
Right? So there are some things that you will be allowed to tell certain people, and then there'll be other people that you won't be able to share them with.
Yes.
And in those instances, you have to understand the difference, because then those will be the people that will stop you.
Yes. So let's go back to talking about like certain things you can do, certain exercises. You talked about the coloring book. You talked about setting your space up where it's conducive to writing and getting your juices flowing. Are there other things? Because I think that at that conference that we attended in May, didn't you do like a breathing, some breath work?
Understanding how to center yourself is an important thing in life.
Yes.
Just period.
Yes.
Understanding your own body, your own breath, your own situation. There are some times when you are just too stressed to write.
Yes.
And what I would say is, in those instances, whether you breathe through them or not, if you're too anxious to write, that's not your day to write.
Right.
But there are some times when, before you pick up a pen, before you type on a computer, just sit for a moment.
Okay.
And just sit in some peace and understand that understand that this is something, if as a Christian and as a Christian publishing company, I believe that we are the pen of the ready writer. We are just conduits. God is supposed to tell our story. He's the one that is allowing us the thoughts and the words to be able to say. But if we're so focused on saying what we want to say, then we'll miss the moments that God wants us to talk about.
Yeah.
So all of those things in understanding how to breathe and how to sit in a moment. If there are hard times that you're writing about and all of a sudden emotions come up, sit in it. Don't be so quick to rush past it. Allow yourself to feel the emotions, breathe through the pain, breathe through the anger, and then ask yourself, what did I just learn about what I just felt?
Yes. What did I just learn about myself?
In that moment.
Yeah.
And that might not even go in your book, right?
Right.
That's that tandem document that
Yes.
you need to be able to just release those thoughts. But being centered, and I 100% understand that our bodies tell us a lot of things. And when we're
Absolutely.
not attentive to what our bodies are saying, then we'll miss moments.
Yes.
So sitting still, understanding, and when heavy thoughts come, breathing through them and being able to say, okay, what am I feeling? Why is this emotion coming up now? Because it might not even be anything near what you need to write about.
Yes.
Right? There is just something that just needs to be released. And at that point, if you don't know what it is, you have to sit and allow yourself to feel it.
Yes, that's so good. So if somebody's interested in engaging with Destined to Publish, what is the process that your team would walk them through as part of writing their book?
First of all, there's a orientation session, and we talk about all of the things. There are books that we suggest that authors purchase.
Okay.
There's a devotional that we suggest that all of the authors purchase. It's not by me. There's a book that we suggest people purchase for life, not just for writing. It's called Crash the Chatterbox. But there are just some things that we do in orientation to get you ready to write.
Okay.
From there, we have 2 foundational sessions, and that's when you go through our coaching sessions, and they're going to take you through writing your outline.
Okay.
And understanding the twists and turns, and even if you have a book, how to structure it. So those are 2 foundational sessions. And from there, you have 6 coaching sessions. And those coaching sessions are taught normally through a cohort, but we also do one-on-ones.
Okay.
And so in that cohort, you learn how to write your book, how to structure, how to stay focused, how to understand your thoughts, understand where you are. And from there, once you're done with those 6 sessions, and again, that's taught by 2 of our amazing, amazing coaches. Once you go through those 6 sessions of coaching, then you kind of graduate.
Okay.
And you go from literary coaching, that's where you start in the literary coaching space. And then you go through editing. So editing is sort of like it's your first time that someone will read your book as a reader.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the editing space, and there are a couple of ways that we do editing. Once you come out of editing, then you graduate to publishing. And in publishing, we go through the cover designs, the interior designs, we do all your legal work, and then we help you to publish on any of the platforms, the social platforms like Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. So we take you through there. And then after that, we have a marketing course that we kind of help you to understand, okay, now that you've done all of this, how do you make your money back?
Yes.
Yes. So the package takes about 9 to 10 months if you work all the way through, but in some instances it can take up to a year to 14 months, 12 to 14 months.
From the point you engage to after the 12-month period ends, you would have a physical book that you could hold in your hand.
Yes.
So what do you say to people who I heard people say it takes people 5-10 years to write a book?
They weren't focused.
That's true.
They weren't focused. So let me say this. When you're writing a memoir, right? When you're writing a memoir, that there's a difference from writing a nonfiction book than writing a fiction book. Now, if you're writing a fiction book and it has characters and it has a storyline and it has plot twists and things like that, that might take you a lot longer to create.
That makes sense.
But when you're writing a memoir, you are the authority on your own life.
Yes.
So that does not have to take as long as writing a fiction story.
Yes.
So nonfiction, or even if you're writing a teaching manual, those types of things do not have to take as long of a stretch as writing a fiction book should.
Okay, good. Are the classes and the cohorts online, or do you have to come to a physical location?
Nope, we're all virtual. So, and it's funny because I realized, I think maybe last year, that we were one of the first companies, to start coaching just in general, but B, to do online coaching.
Wow.
So we were coaching before Zoom became a thing. So we were online virtual coaching in 2017, I think. And that was really before all of the online coaching became popular. But now we are 100% online. We have authors all over the U.S. and abroad, and they all come in, and the virtual sessions are about an hour to an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then from there, you are connected to your coach through a portal, and it's all private. The conversations, the information that your coach gives to you about your writing, the critiques, because they're reading your manuscript. So the critiques that they give you is all virtual.
Yes.
And all online, and it is all private. So no one else, except for of course, the virtual classes, that those personal thoughts that you might have, conversations you might have with your coach, are in our portal, and no one else has access to that information but your coach. So all of it kind of helps you to just be able to release all of the things that you have on the inside.
Yes. So is your team or your company only if I want to self-publish my book, or would you help coach through the major publishing? I want my book to go to where they write me a check in advance for my book.
So we are a hybrid publishing company.
Okay.
And by hybrid, I mean that we have everything in-house. So there are traditional publishing companies, which is what you're talking about now. And then there are hybrid publishing companies. And then there's people who truly self-publish. Self-publish, if you truly self-publish, you've done all of this. You've created your own team. You've found your designer. You've found your editor. You have built your own team.
Okay.
As a traditional publisher or publishing house, they have all of the things in-house for you, and they do your marketing and they do all of those things for you. However, they take a substantial amount of your royalties with them. And depending on how your contract is structured, 99% of the time, once you sign with a publishing house, you've lost the royalty, or you've lost the rights to your book.
Yep.
So we are in the middle as a hybrid publishing company, because we still have the team, but you still own your content.
Okay.
So once you come into our setting, what we do is we help you to get from the writing portion all the way through to the end. And personally, I teach authors that you are your own best publicist, meaning a publicist, the job of a publicist really is just to get you in front of a market.
Yes.
You cannot tell someone, oh, my publicist helped me sell 50 million books, 50 million copies. Well, that's not the job of a publicist, because you will not be able to substantiate the claims of how many books are sold, because you're not just going to sit back and sit still. So the majority of the sales are probably coming from you.
Yes.
The publicist's job is to get you in front of the people so that you can sell your own book. So what we do is we get you through the publishing portion, and then we connect you with people so that then you can be your own best publicist.
Awesome. Awesome. Any final words of encouragement for listeners and viewers who are ready or almost ready to write their book?
I would say, it's like Nike, just do it.
Yes.
We are writing a story anyway. We are writing the story of our lives on a day-to-day basis. Our journeys are written from the time we wake up. And as we are thinking about the things that we're going to leave this world, we really have to think about legacy. What are you leaving? What part of you are you leaving, not just for your kids, but for your kids' kids?
Yes.
That is the most important thing. And 100%, don't let anything stop you. When we have a mind to do something, we get it done.
Yes.
And so make it a priority so that this time next year, you have your book in your hand and you say, I'm a published author.
Yes. And that is the best feeling ever. To have your physical book in your hand. Oh my goodness, that's the best feeling ever. So as we sit here in the quiet beauty of the Japanese garden, I'm reminded that gardens don't rush. They grow in seasons, and so do we. Today we talked about writing, but what we really talked about was becoming. Becoming brave enough to tell your truth through story, becoming disciplined enough to show up to the page even when the words feel heavy, becoming bold enough to become the author of your life. Thank you so much, Marilyn, for joining me today. It's been such a gift to record in this serene garden environment. Your words and presence, that soft voice, bring everything together. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it. This is my passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems like you're so comfortable with this. Like, I got this. This is great. What do you want to tell the listeners regarding being able to get in contact with you?
So they can visit our website, which is destinedtopublish.com. Once they visit our website, there's a Let's Talk portion on the website.
Okay.
If they click that Let's Talk portion, they can set up a consultation. It's a virtual consultation, one-on-one with me, and we take the time to go through things and see where they are and get them started from there. I also want to say that we also now do anthologies. So anthologies are writing in collection and community.
Nice.
So if you have a group of people and you want to tell a story together, then that website is destinedanthologies.com. And yeah, let's talk and let's set some things in order so that you can get started. Our next cohort will probably start in March of 2026.
Okay.
So you've got a little bit of time so that we can get you together and you can then get yourself focused and be ready to get started.
So March 2026 is every quarter?
Right now we have 2, so we'll go from March and then we'll go again in August.
Okay, cool. But your journey, Marilyn, your work and your presence remind us that our stories are not accidents, they are assignments. And when you're ready for your assignment, contact Destined to Publish. Because you guys are, I think the reason why my book is not still pending and in progress, it's actually in print and I can feel it and I can touch it and I can see it. And that is the most amazing feeling ever. So thank you again for joining us today. And people, get in contact with Marilyn if you are ready to write your book.
I'm ready for it. Let's get started.
Yes, let's get started.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. To everyone watching and listening, if you've been waiting for a sign to start your book, this is it. You don't need perfection. You don't need permission. You just need the courage to begin. For our audience, if you'd like to connect with Marilyn to learn more about Destined to Publish, we'll have the links in the show notes below. Thank you again to Marilyn, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. Until next time, pick up your pen, open the page, and let your story unfold. I'm Tracy Lance, the proud award-winning author of Shots Fired, a heroine's memoir. Remember, the journey to healing isn't a straight climb, but every step forward matters. So wherever you are on your journey, feel it, face it, trust that something greater is always waiting on the other side. Thank you for giving yourself the gift of exploring what it really means to survive, to heal, and to rise. Let's take this journey, keep traveling, and rise together. Stay inspired and keep writing.
I'm touching the sky. Not my trauma, not my chains. Turn the struggle into gains. Every step